was not planning on starting this project for a couple more weeks, but it's raining outside today, and I just had a conversation with my mom about how bad the housing market is, and suddenly this project feels very urgent for some reason. I'm gonna get started on it while I actually have the motivation to do things. This is the clay that I have. I used the same type of clay for my clown doll, so I'm hoping that this will turn out okay. Okay, that was not as satisfying as I thought it was gonna be. Let me try that again. Let's see if we can go all the way. Okay, never mind. I actually have no idea how to approach this. I've never made something like this trying to recreate somebody's actual face, or like looking at a picture and trying to recreate that same facial structure. Okay, let me get some good reference pictures up. Okay, do we want him to be smiling or not? I feel like we see Charles sad enough where we should definitely be making him smile. After choosing a couple reference photos, I started sculpting the face. I wanted to find a balance of creating simple features and features accurate in resemblance. The nose was the most time consuming, as that was the feature I wanted to look realistic, while everything else was simple. I think it turned out pretty well. After that was done, more clay was added to the top of his head. There were a lot of creases in the clay, so I asked my dad for some sculpted skincare advice.
You don't want me in your video.
I can't take all the credit if you're doing some of the work.
I'm not doing any of the work. A really light roll, just repeatedly, into and out of the areas. It's still a little bumpy, but does that make a difference?
That technique definitely made a difference, so I did that along the whole face with a paintbrush and some water. The body started with a wire frame, then clay was built onto the wire with gaps left for the joints. Originally, I put beads in these spots. They didn't stick around because they restricted his posability, and I wasn't sure if they could go in the oven. I'm not gonna redo this now, but I think next time I make a doll, I need to make each limb individually on a needle so I can bake them individually and then slide them onto the wire frame, because I think the limbs will just look better that way. My intention for this doll is for him to always be wearing his racing kit and we won't actually see the limbs. I'm not going for perfection when it comes to the limbs. I'm just kind of estimating, and then I'm gonna sand them down until they look smooth under the clothing. So this is what we have. Proportionally, is it accurate? Probably not, but I'm fine with that. I think it's gonna be really cute. The face so far is one of those things where to me it doesn't really, I don't think it looks like him. I do think that it looks like a man's face though, so once we get the hair on there and once we paint it, I do think it'll be okay. After everything was baked, all the pieces were sanded down. I wrapped pipe cleaners around the joints, that way there aren't weird gaps visible when he's wearing clothes. I did run out of red ones, but stuck to warm colors. This time around, I did not procrastinate on making hands. Last year, I watched a doll making video from Mars on Earth, and I love the way she made hands, so I put that technique in my back pocket and finally got to pull it out for this project. Here are the hands before getting wrapped in thread.
Is there a leakage? A leakage of what? I have the seat full of water, like full of water. Must be the water. Let's attach the water filter.
Here is the skin tone getting whipped up. One thing I've recently learned is how complex skin tones are. All the undertones and values can't be captured by like a single flat paint color, but this is a doll, so I only used one color. It did take a long time to make a color that matched, but we got there eventually. I have the base layer of the face, now I just need to paint on the actual features, which is kind of scary. I don't even know where to start. So I pulled up some reference photos, and I think I'm mainly gonna go off of this photo from him at the F1 premiere. One thing that I did not include is dimples. I made him like slightly smiling, so I didn't really feel the need to add dimples, but now I'm scared. Let me drink some water, hydrate before I do this. The first thing that I'd like to do is just add some dimension to his face. I'm gonna use the skin tone color we already made, make a little bit of it a hair darker, and then maybe just paint these areas here and where his eyes are, just to make some parts of his face a little bit darker to give it a little bit more dimension. We're gonna do it like along his cheekbones here. It's like noticeably darker. This is not good. This is not going well. You know what? If we paint like layers on like this and then we paint a layer of the regular paint over it, I think it'll turn out just fine. Yep, Emma, you just tell yourself that. This is so bad. He looks like a pro wrestler. Okay, this was a horrible strategy, which is fitting because Ferrari. Actually, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Once I cover it up with the other paint, it is not going to be that bad. I can see the paint under it and it does not look good. Thankfully, it looked fine after it was fully dry. Crisis averted. I'm gonna move on and just start trying to paint the lips on. Clearly, I was not finding success this day, so I'm not sure why I kept painting. Here's me attempting to make Charles' lip color. I tested the colors on myself to make sure it seemed like a natural lip color. It looked like lipstick on the doll, so I had to paint over it later on. There's not much else to note from this painting session other than the glob of paint I thought looked like a duck. It looks like a duck. The way that it landed, hold up. Does that not look like a rubber duck? It totally does. And the small injury I got from my phone holder. Ow, 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 ow. As I was working on the face, it came to my attention that he needed ears, so I sculpted and painted some, along with a pair of shoes. These were really fun to paint. That day, I also finished the hands by wrapping them with thread. Now I'm going to paint the face. I did repaint the lips earlier today and the color turned out great. And then I did a little bit of a darker color in the corners just to make it look a little bit more like my reference photo. Here is the photo that I am using as I am working on the facial features. The game plan is to do the eyebrows, glue on the ears, paint the base of the hair, and then glue on the hair. Starting with the eyebrows, I wanted to make sure that it looks like it's actually textured rather than just painted on there. So I wanted to use a mixture of pen, marker, paint, and colored pencil. I know that the pen is gonna give me the most precise lines, but I also know it's the biggest risk because it's gonna smear unless I leave it for a really long time. But I say we're just gonna do it. I'm gonna start with colored pencil though. That I did. Here's how that layer looked. Then brown pen was added. This is only the first layer, so it's gonna get better from here. As the pen was drying, the ears were hot glued on. It took a few tries to get them in the right spot. Once they were painted on, I painted over the dried glue and chipped paint around the ears. Then the base layer for the hair was painted on. Let's draw some eyes on there. We're gonna start with our classic Sharpie dot eyes. Have you ever seen the movie The Babadook? Because this is for some reason reminding me of the Babadook. Is that not what he looks like? That movie is so dark, but it's so interesting because at the end, when the thing is in the basement. Okay, these are definitely not quite in the center. This one needs to build more on the bottom and this one more on the top. This does not look like Charles. Ugh. Did you come to see how it looks too? Here. What do you think? She's wagging her tail. It's a good sign. I'm gonna make him a little bit bigger. We're done. To finish up the eyebrows, I added some layers of paint. This gave them more texture and thickness.
I've never looked so good.
I started the racing kit by tracing the body and cutting those pattern pieces out of fabric. I left a ton of seam allowance to make up for the fact that I was just using flat pieces of fabric that didn't account for the shape of the body, like a normal clothing pattern would. Because of this, the kit had to be glued down and folded over in some weird spots. I won't be making doll clothing this way again. For my most recent project, I actually made a pattern based on an actual shirt pattern. It turned out so much better. Okay, let's be so honest, this looks like an elf on the shelf. Like, that is what it looks like. That is immediately what I am reminded of when I see it. Oh my goodness, his hand just fell off too. I didn't glue the hands on or anything yet. I figured I'd get done with the painting first, so I guess we can take those off. I got some fabric paint from the store and I just tested it on this, and it looks like it's showing up really nicely.
Charles, what's happened with Max?
Nothing, just an incident on the race.
This doll hair is from Etsy. It's super soft and curly, and according to this clip, has a mind of its own. I folded strands of it in half and secured them with Mod Podge. Tonight we're gonna give him a haircut, and then I might paint on some like facial hair because he usually has that like 5 o'clock shadow or whatever it's called. So we're probably gonna add that, even though I really don't want to. I'm scared to, because putting that on a doll just seems like it will not look good. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but that's okay. We're gonna jump right in. I just remembered that my friend sent me a voice message earlier and I never listened to it. But you know what? I'm gonna make a guess and say that she definitely is talking about Formula One in this, so we're gonna listen to it.
It's no surprise that I could recognize them from that picture.
I was totally right. She was talking about Formula One. Shout out Regan. I've shouted you out before. I'll shout you out again. Love you. Thank you for watching. Glad you're here. Now I'm at the point where I actually have to start doing this and I'm getting scared. Here's what we're starting with. A few people that I went to high school with went to cosmetology school, and I think next time I make a doll, I need to ask them to cut the doll's hair because this is bad. I think one issue is that when I chop, I'm just doing like big chunks of it, so it's all ending up with like straight edges, and that's making the shape of his head look weird. So we can try to do something about that. I don't know who this is, but it's not Charles. I'm gonna leave it like this for now, and then later on I will probably touch it up a little bit more. Lastly, I used a paint sponge to add some facial hair.